You know, my boss hates his wife, which means he never wants to leave work, which means I don't get to.
Which means you didn't get my text. Look, at first, your job was kind of a turn-on. Now it's kind of a drag. Like tonight, if I want to smoke pot.
No, you can smoke pot. I don't care.
Hey!
Z-Babe?
Sorry, Kat. Just been stressing me out.
Really? That's what you texted me.
We got a bust.
You know what? Z-Babe, this wasn't working for me either. Security! That guy's got pot on him.
For a television audience who probably have a sort of an echo of a memory of the original 1987 Beauty and the Beast, when this window is open, when we go into this universe, what sort of show do we find here?
This show is interesting. It's very different from the 1987 series, obviously. My character, Catherine, is a detective whose mother is murdered in front of her when she's around 19 years old. The Beast is this guy who's gone through military experiments, who's dealing with the ramifications of what he's done. And it's really about these two people and these two worlds coming together, and these two broken people trying to find their humanity with each other.
This story, in its broader historical sense, has always been a love story.
Yes.
Do you see this front and centre as a love story?
To me, it is very much a love story. I mean, it is ultimately about how do two people connect with each other, apart from all of the obstacles, apart from all of their differences, apart from, you know, the dangers from the outside world. That is what the story is. It is a love story.
When you pick up a character like Catherine Chandler, what do you find? Like, what's on the page for you? And what are you looking for in a way? What does she need to? What do you need to think she can become to be attracted to the idea of playing her?
She's fascinating to me. She's gone through a lot of, well, a serious trauma. She's chosen to take on that responsibility, like I think many children would, in a flawed way, because it isn't their responsibility. But I think that any child would be like, I did this and I should have done it differently. I think that where she can go is really beautiful. And in that process, things are going to unravel for her because her life is very well put together. But if she starts to look at and be more vulnerable, then how does that affect her job? Can she do her job? Because as a detective, things are very black and white. But if you start to introspect and self-reflect and realize how flawed you are, then it can't be black and white anymore. So how will that affect how she engages? How many rules will she break, whereas she held the rules to be the most important thing beforehand? I'm very interested to see her unraveling and her growth from that unraveling.
The Beast is a very handsome beast in this case.
Very handsome.
Jay Ryan, an Australian boy, New Zealand boy,
Yeah.
via Australia.
Yeah.
Tell me about working with him.
We were very lucky. I met Jay. He came out to do a chemistry read with me. And he was exhausted, and he had been flying. I think he had literally been flown from New Zealand to LA, back, or was he in Australia? From Australia to LA, back to Australia, and then back again, you know, in the span of like 2 seconds. And he had to do this chemistry read with me. And he was so lovely, you know, and from that moment, I was very pro Jay Ryan. It's great working with him. I feel like the two of us are on a similar page, and we can take this love story and really find the honesty with these characters, and I like that. It feels good.
Finally, I think television networks are a bit, in a post-Lost, let's call it a post-Lost universe, they get a bit nervous about the idea of mythologies.
Yes.
How much mythology do you think sits with this story, at least in the sense of character, but also if we look at the broader story of Beauty and the Beast? I mean, there are so many iterations. There's a musical. The universe of Beauty and the Beast has a great deal of possibility for an imaginative television scriptwriter. How deep a mythology do you think sits around this story?
That's an interesting question, because I think you're right. I think that people are scared of mythology. As our show's been going on, the audience is drawn most to the mythology and to the love story. So I think that we'll have the opportunity to have a very rich mythology that's still grounded in enough crime procedural element that you could still jump in at any moment, and which I think is what, you know, people want. They want, the studios and the networks want someone to be able to jump in at any moment. But I think that we will have, as we develop and as this season goes by, a very deep, fulfilling mythology for these characters.